So hello, everybody. Welcome. Just by way of introduction, my name is Bennett Tchaikovsky. I used to teach adjunct at Cal State Fullerton, but I do teach full-time at Irvine Valley College. And I've been at Irvine Valley. I'm now going, I think, on like my 12th year. Obviously, I love teaching accounting. I have a YouTube channel called Accounting Professor. So if you've gotten the mapping from me, you can look at my channel. But what I'm really most interested in and why I'm agreeing to do this today is because I want to see you get a job. And part of getting the job is knowing where your where you are with regards to the educational requirements. Because when you do go to meet the firms, which is going to be an absolute zoo. Nathan, how many people are signed up so far for Meet the Firms? It's got to be over like 500, right?
Yeah, around that number.
And it's gonna be like it's absolutely nuts.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to be there. Just kind of hanging out and just kind of I'll do my flyby and say hello to the recruiters really quickly, but then I'll be off to the side and just if you guys want to see me in person, that I do exist and I'm not some AI chat bot that's randomly going through and doing your mappings. You can come up and talk to me and that kind of thing. So let's go ahead and do this. So do you want to go ahead and do you want me to share the screen with you now? And do you want to do that or you want to wait a few more minutes before the participation part?
I could pull it up right now and then
Okay.
we'll wanna get it later.
Okay, so Nathan, let's see here, stop sharing. Let's see. Okay, so Nathan, I'm going to make you the host of this, so go for it, show what you need to, and we'll get going from there.
Right, can you guys see that? Yeah, please scan it and like sign in just so you can get your hours. And
This is only if you're a Cal State Fullerton student. If you're an IVC student and you scan this thing, I don't know what's going to happen.
yeah. Could do this for like 3 minutes, and then if anyone joins in after, I'll just send them the link.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because Nathan, you are the host. If you see people coming in the waiting room, you may need to admit them.
Okay.
By the way, I think it was when I had BDO on yesterday, they were mentioning the importance, and it may have also been with RSM, is that if a firm ever gives you a QR code to make sure that you're scanning that every single time. So if the firms have that, it's a way of tracking their contacts with you.
Yeah. And sometimes like in those QR codes, they'll link like their summer leadership program, like RSM, like their pathways program. It's usually within that link too. So yeah. All right. Think we're good. I'm gonna stop sharing. And go.
Go ahead and reclaim the host. Going.
There you go.
Okay. So let's go ahead and do this. So everybody, welcome. Today I did one of these presentations back in May, and I think the students got some value out of it. So we're going to be going through and doing this again. But many of you have already sent me your Google Sheets. For a lot of you, if you completed them by listing out all your units, I replied back with, and I'll kind of go through that in terms of what you needed for the educational requirements. But here's my disclaimer and copyright notice. The information and opinions in this presentation are those of myself and not my employers or affiliated organizations, including but not limited to Irvine Valley College and the South Orange County Community College District. One of the most important things that what I want to also say too is that when I provide you a mapping, right, I do not work for the California Board of Accountancy, right? So when you're applying to become a CPA, your educational requirements and classes are ultimately determined by them. However, I have probably done over, I'm probably getting close to about 700 plus mappings over my time working at IVC and helping students get through it. And so with that being said, I generally know what, based on what someone goes through and submits, you know, what the Board of Accountancy is going to want to kind of go through and see. Also, just kind of here today is that whenever you hear something from anyone, this is my opinion. Do not believe what I say. I'm half attorney, half CPA. And I'm not telling you to, I have no reason to lie to you. But I think whenever you hear anything from anyone, whether it be ChatGPT, whether it be someone else, always be going in with a skeptical mind. That's really important for your career as a CPA. Just a little bit about me. I am the accounting professor on YouTube. For those of you who subscribe to the channel, thank you. If you ever want me to work through a problem or something for managerial, financial, intermediate accounting, feel free to leave a comment. I have been teaching at Irvine Valley since August of 2014. Been licensed as a CPA since August of 93, an attorney since June of 97. I started out, and what's really crazy to me is that I went to UC Santa Barbara. I did an internship in the summer of 1990. I applied for that internship in January of 1990. So it literally was 6 months. Now it's 2 years, right? EY and PwC are both right now accepting applications for summer of 2027. Which to me is absolutely insane, but it kind of talks a little bit about just where we are. And I've taught at Cal State Fullerton, Chapman, Long Beach City College, as well as Pasadena City College. I also have AI applications, and I will share this presentation with you, but if you want to take your resume and put it through the AI application that I have for recruiting, essentially what my AI applications are is that I've developed a couple different ones. What you do is basically here for recruiting. I'm just going to pull this up. And if I click on start, and if I ask it, what are some behavioral interview questions? So if you need help in terms of like going through and like looking at this, I've actually had recruiters use it and they kind of freak out. And part of the reason why they're freaking out is that this is not a normal chat GPT. I've loaded up these applications with about 35 hours of YouTube video recordings. So it's pulling from all those different interviews I've had with different accounting firms. So if this is something you want to kind of go through and use, it's definitely here for you. The main point I want to get through to all of you today is that you need to be looking for a full-time or an internship or a full-time job offer right now. The hardest thing for me as a professor and basically when I'm advising students is that if a student has already graduated and they're looking for work, I can promise you, you want to try not to be in that position. It is very, very difficult to find work once you have graduated. You need to be in school when you're looking for employment. So that's one thing. If you're walking away from with anything, this is really something important to note. There's a couple different things here about the current state of the job market. More and more students are going into accounting. I think a lot of this has to do with the drying up of financing jobs as well as the drying up of consulting. And when I'm seeing more like UCLA and USC students that are going into accounting, it absolutely shocks me. Why would you spend 70 grand a year to go to USC to pursue accounting when you can do it for about 10 grand a year at Fullerton? Right? You may not be able to say fight on, instead you say go Titans. But to me, it's absolutely, it's crazy, but that's what I'm seeing. And it's just really kind of more just because of what's happening right now. So as far as this is what I was kind of mentioning a little bit earlier, like my own personal journey. And again, this is, when you're going through and looking at the different internship opportunities, one thing I would tell you about working in Irvine is that everybody wants to work in Irvine, right? I'm not just saying that because I work at Irvine Valley College, not biased. I actually live in Huntington Beach, but most students want to work in Irvine. It is a high in demand office. Now, when it comes to other offices like San Francisco, San Jose, or Los Angeles, if you have an ability to work in those places and live in those places, that's great. But the one thing I would tell you is that if you're going to live in San Jose, the rent of apartments can be extraordinarily expensive. And a lot of my students who are graduating from school, and again, your parents didn't pay me to say this to you, I would absolutely be living at home as long as I could because of how expensive rents are right now. Rents are basically through the roof. If, say, you're making 80 grand a year at a public accounting firm, which might be roughly what, about 50 to 60,000 after tax. If that's roughly about 5,000 a month, or maybe call it maybe 4,000 a month, and you're paying 2,500 a month for living, that just is going to eat into your paycheck. So living at home can actually be something that's really important. But again, when you look at the competition for a lot of these different areas, it's just something to kind of consider. One thing is I did have a student this summer who worked at Deloitte. She was hired for the LA office, and she basically, I think she went up to LA like a few times, but she was doing almost all of her work from the Irvine office. Not saying that that's the way it's going to work all the time, but again, it's something just to kind of go through and consider. Some different things in terms of for you getting ready to recruit, it's having a resume ready to go. And I'm sure that BAP and Accounting Society does a great job in terms of going through and providing templates for you. The things I would tell you on the resume that you absolutely need to have is, what is your objective, right? What are you trying to go through and do? You want to obtain an entry-level audit position? Are you looking for an internship? Your cumulative GPA, as well as your accounting GPA, your expected graduation date, but most importantly, when are you going to have the 150 semester units completed? Basically meaning that you're not only eligible to sit for the exam, but also eligible for licensure. Other things too, when it comes to professional experience, make sure you're listing not only accounting type jobs, but if you've worked at a Starbucks. The reason why restaurant and retail experiences are really important is because most of you who have worked in those areas, you get yelled at by customers. And it's like people just do that, but it's like, why is that important for accounting? Because you're going to learn how to de-escalate situations, right? I'm not saying to become a flight attendant on Spirit Airlines, right, which produces the most amazing YouTube videos of all time, like crazy passengers. That's a little bit too sadistic, but I would really kind of say, like, working retail, extremely important to do, because those will come up in your interview conversations. Obviously, any type of leadership experience you've had, but getting work experience is like really, really important. I've had students who went to UCI 4.0 GPAs, but they really weren't able to be successful in recruiting because they've never had real jobs. So just kind of keep that in mind as you're kind of going through and doing this. Another thing that's also really important is obviously showing the 150, but also LinkedIn. Make sure you have a LinkedIn profile. Make sure that that LinkedIn profile is fully up to date. Because again, that's where recruiters are going to be going through and looking at you. I would also assume too that, if you have like, a handle on, say, Instagram, like accounting as a party, and you show yourself drinking at a desk with a huge bottle of vodka, have your monitor open, that may not be the best social media thing to have, for yourself. So just kind of keep that in mind, is to kind of scrub your social media, because just assume the employers are going to be looking at you as much as you're looking at them. Most important thing as well, or there's a lot of very important things, but passing the CPA exam, becoming a CPA, that should be your primary focus. Why do I say that? The moment you become a licensed CPA, there's just going to be so many more opportunities out there for you. If you go on to Indeed, or if you go on and look at different types of accounting jobs, most of them will say a CPA is preferred. It's just because when you hire a CPA to do accounting work, if something goes wrong, not only are you going to lose your job, but if you do something nefarious, then you'll also lose your CPA license. And trust me, if you've taken that CPA exam, you never want to lose that CPA license. You want to have it basically for this. Now, a couple other things I'm just going to mention about the CPA exam is that there's a new format starting in January 2024. When you look at the CPA exam, it's essentially the parts you have to go through and take are FAR, Reg, audit, right? So if you're at Cal State Fullerton and you're taking accounting 301A and accounting 301B, you're going to be pretty well prepared for FAR. If you're going through and taking the accounting 308 and maybe another tax course, you're going to be pretty well prepared for reg or regulation. The next one is auditing, and I think that's accounting 402 at Cal State Fullerton. If you take that, you'll be pretty well prepared for auditing. The best advice I can give you in terms of preparing for FAR is that when you look at the CPA exam, right, the CPA exam is made up of, half of it is going to be multiple choice questions, but half of it are going to be what they call task-based simulations. And when you look at the task-based simulations, one of the things in my teaching of financial, managerial, intermediate accounting, I tend to give problem-based questions on my exams, because that's going to be what is going to be closest to what you will see on the CPA exam. So again, that's just my own thing that I do with my students. Again, something just to kind of go through and consider, but generally when you're going through and using CPA review, it's going to help you get there. One of the things also really important to note is that Becker was acquired by private equity in 2022. There's a gentleman by the name of Peter Olento, who is a very famous CPA review instructor, and he left Becker in 2023 in July. Literally for the last 2 years, even though the exam has completely changed, I think they're still using Peter's videos. That's how good he was. My concern though with Becker is really about their updating of, the updating of the format, or basically updating for more task-based simulations. One of the students from Cal State Fullerton who did not pass FAR the first time, she was very close, but when she took it the second time, she supplemented her Becker with Lime and I think Ninja, right? So there's a lot of different review courses out there. When you work for a firm, they're generally going to give you free CPA review once you sign the offer. But I would just warn you, just to make sure that you're giving yourself more task-based simulations than anything else. Right over here, and this is probably the most important thing of this call, is that more than likely, and right now we're under the 150 semester unit requirement. More than likely, they're going to be going through and having an implementation window starting next year to drop the educational requirement from basically 150 down to 120. So they're going to be, when I went through, it was a bachelor's degree or 120 semester units plus 2 years of work experience. They're going to go back to that model. And the way it looks right now is that it's going to be 24 semester units of accounting courses, 24 semester units of business related courses, and then 3 semester units of accounting ethics. So that's how they're kind of looking at the new educational requirement. So I would just kind of keep this in mind. But again, when it comes to when it comes though to for you right now, because this has not yet been adopted, I would just be going with the 150. And you'll see when I've replied back to some of you, I kind of say that at the very beginning, like, hey, just focus on the 150, because when I've talked to recruiters, that's what they're focusing on, because the regulations have not yet been finalized. Okay. So just again, the proposed pathway, and if you do a master's degree, if you do a master's in accounting, I'll give you some commentary about that. And again, my own opinion on this. If you do have a master's in accounting, it will reduce the work experience requirement. Instead of doing 2 years, it'll go down to 1 year. And they're also looking at if you get a certificate from a California community college, that can also basically reduce it from 2 years to 18 months. So it would give you like a 6 months worth of credit. I don't know if the year of a master's and the 6 months would be stackable. I think the most they would allow off would be a year, because getting that work experience is really important. Just a kind of like another thing in terms of the master's degree, I know that Deloitte, they fund, I think, 10 masters of accounting degrees from UCI. If you had to re-recruit, I would look at getting a free scholarship from the Deloitte Foundation through UCI. I don't know if Fullerton does the same thing. I'm not discouraging you from getting a master's from Cal State Fullerton, but if you are going to go the master's route, I would definitely try to go for free. I would not try to engage in any more student debt than you absolutely need. The one other thing too about the master's degree is that I do not believe it is necessary, right? Because to me, once you've taken intermediate accounting, you're pretty much at the top of the mountain, education-wise. Like when you take tax courses, you're going to be saying, oh my God, what is this? I don't understand, because you're not going to really understand until you actually get work experience. Auditing, when you take an auditing class, it feels like you're auditing air, because until you actually start doing audits, it's kind of like hard to kind of go through and do. But again, getting a master's degree in accounting, I generally do not recommend it. And unless it's free, right? Or if for some reason, say, you didn't really get to recruit and you're dying to go to a big 4 firm like Deloitte, that might be a way to kind of go through and do it. But it's extremely, getting a master's, again, I just would go to work. That's what I would do. Okay. So, and then basically over here, let's just talk about what the requirements are currently. So when you go through, and many of you, if you basically have me go through and do your mapping, I've personalized this to you. Once you go through and you list out all of your courses from the colleges you've attended, just email me back and I will go through and finish your mapping for you. For those of you who did this, I tried to get most of them done up through about like this morning. But let's just kind of go through here. So when you're looking at, there's 2 different things. And when you see my email to you, I'm going to kind of go through and break it out like, okay, to sit for the exam, what is the Board of Accountancy looking for? They're looking for, well, let's use Nathan as an example, and we're going to pretend Nathan is going to be graduating in May of 2026. So Nathan, what he could do is 6 months prior to his graduation date, he could apply to sit for the CPA exam, right, with the California Board of Accountancy, and it's going to be a conditional sitting. And what the Board of Accountancy, the only thing they're looking for when you apply to sit is that, do you have 24 semester units of accounting? And do you have 24 semester units of business? And will you have your bachelor's degree in the next 6 months? That's the only thing they care about when it comes to sitting. They also care about, did you send the $100 application fee? If you don't send in the application fee, they're not going to look at your application. The other thing you will also need to do is you're going to need to send in your transcripts, right? So say, for example, right over here, so Luis, you attended Golden West, Cypress, OCC, also had some other ones over here. Of course, you're missing Irvine Valley, which I'm going to have to take points off your next test. I'm just kidding. but you basically have for every one of those schools you've attended, you're going to want to send separate transcripts into the Board of Accountancy. So you're going to have to electronically send every single school you went to those units. Why is that? For example, if you came in and took accounting ethics with me at Irvine Valley College, that's not going to be accepted by Cal State Fullerton. If Cal State Fullerton accepted my accounting classes, my parking lot, which costs $80 a year, right, would be apt for students, would be absolutely overflowing, right? Because we all know how much fun parking at Cal State Fullerton is, right? Cal State Fullerton will accept accounting 1A and accounting 1B, but they will not accept, that's in lieu of 201A, I think, and 201B, but they will not accept the other classes we offer at Irvine Valley, which is fully understandable. So you're going to have to send in transcripts from every school you've been to, right? So will the Board of Accountancy accept units from Irvine Valley College? And the answer is absolutely yes. Why do students do that? Because we only charge $46 a unit. It's one of the advantages of being a California resident. However, you as Cal State Fullerton students can graduate with a degree in accountancy. I recommend that you take all of your core classes and everything else at Cal State Fullerton because you have to. If you need to supplement with other classes, feel free to take them at the other California community colleges. Again, we don't get a lot of breaks being a California resident aside from the weather, but paying $46 per unit per semester at a community college is an amazing benefit. So coming back over here to sit, are you gonna have a bachelor's degree and are you gonna have 24 accounting units done as well as 24 business units done by the time you graduate? That's the only thing they care about. Once you pass the CPA exam, once you get at least as of right now, your 1 year of work experience, and then at that point in time, when you're applying for a licensure, then they're going to say, oh, do you have these other 30 semester units? So to sit, all they're going to care about is group A and group B. For licensure, right, once you've passed the exam, you've done the work experience, then you're going to need to show them the other 30 semester units. Remember too, if you're taking courses at a California community college, I always recommend students to take them party, no party, or pass, no pass. Why is that? It's because no stress, right? Focus on learning, not on a grade. I know from having taught at Cal State Fullerton intermediate accounting, where I have to come in with a curve of a 2.3 to a 2.6. I think most of you have enough grade stress in your life, and I do not want to add to that grade stress, right? No stress to go. If you need to take your accounting courses at a community college, you can absolutely go through and do so. By the way, could I retake intermediate accounting at Irvine Valley if I've already taken 301A? Absolutely, right? Why you would want to, I have no idea. But you can go through and you can basically retake the same class, even if it's the same name, at a different school, right? But the problem with that is that if I went to, say, 13 different California community colleges and took financial accounting every single time, the problem is when I get to this, which is the ultimate wall of, basically sitting for the CPA exam. And if I've only taken financial accounting, I'm going to be in trouble because it's not going to be CPA review. It's going to be CPA brand new. One other thing I also want to mention is that if you don't take a state and local government class, right, they're going to provide you either Becker or UWorld or Ninja or with Blime, Surgeon.
Standing skill level, which means
they're going to go through and teach you what you need to go through and learn for those particular topics, right? So they're going to give you videos. So whatever you really didn't learn in school, they're going to be going through and having you do basically when you go through and take the review course. Okay, so licensing in other states. One thing I do want to mention is that if you're getting licensed in Washington, one of the things is that for the work experience, the hardest work experience to obtain is that of getting the A license. Doesn't mean you got an A in your financial accounting courses, it's the audit license. Because when you're getting that audit license, the experience is very, very specific that you need to do to be able to sign off on ad test or audit reports. If you get a G license, it doesn't mean that basically what it is that you're still a CPA. It's just you cannot sign off on audit reports, right? So that's really the difference between those licenses. One other thing too is that in California, your license needs to be either directly or indirectly signed off on by a California or excuse me, any CPA that's actively licensed. In other states, such as Washington, they're a little bit different in terms of the requirements. If you've been working, say, in finance for 10 years or for a couple of years and you meet the Washington requirements, a CPA does not have to sign off on it, meaning that they're your direct supervisor. Rather, what you can do is you can have a qualifying CPA sign off on your experience. I've actually done that for 2 students that were in kind of unique situations. They're now licensed in Washington. What does that mean? They can't practice in California, but they can say that they're a CPA. Okay. So again, this is again, I spoke with Jeff Elliott, the founder of Ninja CPA Review. This was a little while back. And this, you can find this on my YouTube channel. It's about an hour long, but I think it's really important to watch just because it kind of talks about how to prepare for the CPA exam. And Nathan, what I'll do is when we're done is I'll give you the link to this presentation. So if you want to go through and look at the resources, you can absolutely go through and do that offline. The other thing over here is that I have like one of the things we've been doing, and for those of you who have been attending yesterday and today with Fraser, and yesterday with BDO, RSM, and Ninow Tierney, I have been going through and having meetings with different accounting firms. And so one of the things I would share with you is that, you know, basically we still have more that are coming up, meaning like next week, I'm going to be hosting Haskell and White, Clifton Larson Allen, CBiz, and then HCBT. But one of the things that you may find very, very valuable is that if you go over here to the completed meetings, right? These are the meetings I've had so far. Before you go to meet the firms, right? One of the things I have is I have like, this is an hour-long interview with RSM. This is another hour-long interview with Fraser, HCBT, CBiz, BDO, Baker Tilly, which is now, they've merged with Moss Adams. So I'm assuming they're going to be coming in to Cal State Fullerton meet the firms. Grant Thornton, Anderson Tax, or Anderson, Conrad, Wines, I don't think is going to Cal State Fullerton meet the firms. But I also have meetings from prior semesters, right? So make sure you're kind of going through before you recruit. If you want to watch me interview people, I've had recruiters tell me that students have come up to them. They say, oh yeah, I saw you on the interview with Tchaikovsky. I really found that out to be helpful. And you can basically learn more about the recruiter in that firm that way. So yeah, that's pretty much the overview I wanted to basically share with you. And you know, now what I would rather do than talking, which is always fun, but I'd rather we just kind of take your questions, that if you have anything specific about the educational requirements, if you just want to go ahead and raise your hand, I can go through and answer those for you. But please feel free to ask me literally anything. Anything is fair game. Just whatever you want to know. Again, it's my opinion. So whatever I can help you with, I'm here to do that. There's no way I could have answered all of your questions in that last 30-minute tirade. Luis, you had a question?
Yes. Earlier in the presentation, it's kind of off topic, but you had said that consulting is drying up in like that area. That is an area that I am interested in, so I just wanted to hear more about like what you know by that.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned this, right? So one of the things I'm noticing is that, and the reason why I would only be applying for either audit or tax is because, well, what's always certain, death and taxes. Most companies need to have audits because they either are publicly traded and they have their financial statements have to be audited or reviewed in order to be listed as a publicly traded company, or for bank loans. And the challenge is, and this is what I've seen, is that students who go into specialty groups, what can happen is if there's been a downturn in the economy, like there has been recently, your job's going to get cut. If you're doing consulting, I know Deloitte did a pretty big layoff. I mean, a lot of the big four have been doing layoffs, but there's other reasons for that. But if you're in consulting or you're in one of these other kind of like niche like types of things, and the partners are not bringing in business, they will not hesitate to let you go. If you're doing audit or tax, you're generally going to be in a much better position. Frankly, I would be doing auditing versus consulting, mainly just because you're going to get some really good experience in terms of how a business operates. Because remember, when you're doing auditing, you have to go through and document internal controls. Like, how does a business work? So if it were me, I would be choosing auditing or tax. I would be very concerned about consulting. And again, I might be wrong about that, right? But I've seen students get let go because they were in some of these more specialty groups.
Awesome.
And by the way, one of the other things I want to mention to you is that why have some of the big four firms been doing layoffs at the higher level positions? When you look at the structure of public accounting, you have a partner, you have a few managers, you have seniors, and you have staff. Most of the time within Big Four, about 85 to 90% of the professionals leave after 3 years. There's a huge attrition level in public accounting, especially at the larger accounting firms. They leave because if private industry is doing well, you want to hire a CPA. Why do you want to hire a CPA? Because they've been trained, they've passed an exam, and as a CPA, you can go through and figure things out. When private industry is not hiring, right, then that's when you see layoffs, because that pyramid scheme, or kind of shouldn't call it a pyramid scheme, but the pyramid of how public accounting is structured, right? If there's too many seniors hanging around, they have to let them go. And it's just a reality for a lot of the accounting firms in terms of that happening. I know they don't want to do it because you've invested a lot of time and money in terms of training your professionals. Right. So if you kind of think about it, if I'm flying an intern to, Deloitte University in Texas, or I'm flying a PwC intern to Orlando, that's not cheap. Right. I'm investing in my people, and to have to lay them off, it's not a pleasant thing.
Thank you for sharing your opinion on that.
Yeah. So if you want to just raise your hand on Zoom, and it's hard for me to see everybody's hands. I was able to see Luis's, but if you want to raise your hand, I can answer any questions for you about the mapping I did for you, whatever your questions might be.
Yeah, I have a question.
Sure.
This is kind of more like long term. With the current like introduction between private equity acquiring a lot of public accounting companies, what would you have to say, especially when it comes to like, Big Four? Do you ever see a Big Four being acquired by private equity, or do you see more middle market firms? I know
So
one.
I know where you're going with this. So I've had conversations with partners at some of the Big Fours, and I don't think they would ever be acquired by private equity. If anything that they were going to do, they would probably do some sort of debt financing. But the challenge you kind of see with private equity, and what's really interesting is that I'll give an analogy on this, is that my sons play volleyball. And one of my sons he now plays for Balboa. If any of you played volleyball and know what that is for boys volleyball, but he did play for Rockstar, and Rockstar Volleyball Club was, obviously it's like that energy drink, but it's also a volleyball club. But Rockstar was acquired by private equity, and immediately all of their dues are now going up this next year. It's a pretty big jump, right? So you can also look at it in terms of Becker. right? Why would Becker let Peter Olinto go? Right? You're absolutely insane. Well, they want to save money, right? And they want to bring in as much money as they possibly can. So when private equity invests money, they're trying to get their money out as quickly as they put it in. They got to fund their acquisition. So when firms like Baker Tilly or Grant Thornton, and why did they do private equity? More than likely, it's because you have a lot of aging partners that need to get bought out, and there may not be enough people to kind of come and replace them. That could be one of the reasons. I don't know. But when you're going through though and looking at private equity, one of the challenges can be is that, well, if I want to give basically, you know, a discount to a client for an invoice because maybe there was a new staff on the engagement, it may be more difficult to get that invoice written off. And again, I'm just kind of making up some hypotheticals. But if it were me going into so my mindset is this. You want to graduate, you want to get a job while you're in school, you want to pass the CPA exam, and then start yourself off at an accounting firm, right? Either doing audit or tax, right? And when you're choosing a firm, you're not only just when you're choosing a firm, I would really encourage you to really, when you go to meet the firms, try to talk to as many professionals as you possibly can, because it's going to be how you're interacting with them and like the vibe, and are you getting along with the people, right? That's the most important thing I would tell you. And if you're choosing something based on the name, you're probably going to be miserable. So I would really go through and choose based on the people. A lot of my students are very happy at RSM. Had students in Big Four, they're there for a year or two, they get out immediately. I was kind of like that, but my leaving public accounting was a little bit more of, it's a me issue than anything else. It wasn't them, it was how I was going through and doing it. But if it were me, so say if I started out at Baker Tilly and I'm going to do maybe I'm going to do taxation. Like my pathways, so let's say if I do audit, I'm there for 3 years, and then all of a sudden I'm offered a position outside of Baker Tilly. Well, hey, come work for the private company. You'll be working some overtime, and it's not going to be nearly as much, and you're going to get a 30% pay bump. Why not? That's when you would kind of go through and leave, right? But if I was, say, doing taxation, what I may want to consider doing is potentially going out on my own. And the reason why is because if a firm is owned or if they're controlled by private equity, that's going to create kind of a problem potentially for me down the road. As far, and again, I'm doing this hypothetically speaking, because at the end of the day, if you start building a book of business, is that owned by you or is that owned by the private equity? Right. And if you're doing taxation, right, and this is the other thing too. If I'm the audit partner for Ernst & Young in the San Jose office, and I decide to leave and go to a smaller firm, well, Meta Platforms, which is an EY client, are they going to travel with me? No, they're not going to go with me, right? They're going to stay with Ernst & Young because they have to. But if it's tax, you're usually going to see, because when you're dealing with tax, you say, oh, Bennett's saving me a lot of money. So taxation, I'm going to go ahead and leave with Bennett and go to his new firm because he's always given me great service, right? There's all this, you have to be careful about the solicitation types of things that might be prohibited in your agreement, but that's usually what happens when it comes to tax. So if it were me, I would probably be trying to find a way at some time. And again, when you get to that 3rd year and you want to become a partner, that's really when you want to kind of see, well, what's my pathway to partner? Am I going to have to buy in, right? Or does it make more sense for me to go off on my own, right? Does it make sense for me to join a smaller firm, bring my business to that firm, and then make partner in a short period of time? I did have when I was working as a CFO, there was a tax manager at an accounting firm, a small, like a mid-size. And when I went out to lunch with him, he would tell me, it's like, well, Bennett, you know, this is what's going on. I look at him, I go, dude, they're never going to make you partner. I go, what do you mean? I go, dude, they're messing around with you. You need to leave. And after he got, I think it was in the second year after I told him this, he basically left, went to another firm, and he was a partner there within a year. So I would just kind of tell you that if that's ultimately what your route is going to be, you want to kind of know what that path is if you're going to stay to become a partner at an accounting firm. So that's what I would kind of say when it comes to private. It shouldn't really, for your first 2 or 3 years, whether a firm's being acquired by private equity, it's not really going to make a difference. But if you're planning on staying there, that's when I would be looking deeper into it. Because if someone's like taking on all this debt that you're going to have to service through the firm's profits, then, and if my compensation is based off that, I don't want to have anything to do with that. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it answers it like really well. Thank you.
Yeah. Again, you want to be finding the key thing is you want to be finding the people you like working with. That's what I would be doing like right now. And like who can you chill with, right? That's really the most important thing. So Gianni.
Hi. I just have a question regarding graduating. So like once you graduate with your bachelor's and start preparing for the CPA, what would you say is the most efficient and smartest route by attaining your 1 year work experience and also the 30 units needed after the bachelor's?
Well, I'm going to be biased, right? Because I'm going to say that, well, to get the 30 units, you're better off getting them at a California community college because it's going to be $46 a unit, right? As long as the school you're going to is accredited, that's the best way to go. You know, as far as the most important thing though, is that, and I said this at the very beginning, is that you want to be looking for a job now. Getting a job once you've graduated is going to be extremely difficult to do. Right, that's the biggest challenge when I'm trying to help students. I've got a student who graduated from UCLA. He still does not have a job. And what he's having to do is he's passed FAR. He's trying to pass the other parts of the CPA exam. Why would you want to do that? Because then when you're presenting yourself to employers, they basically know that, oh, you know, you're serious about accounting. Right. So if it were me, if I was within 6 months of graduating, I would absolutely be preparing to take the CPA exam. That's the most important thing you can be doing. And as far as the other units are concerned, I would be going through and taking those at a California community college just because of the cost. You could do a master's of accounting at like a UCI. I think even Fullerton might have that deal with Deloitte where you're going through and getting the free tuition. But again, like the cost of doing that at a California community college is just going to be significantly less. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Sure. Okay, Ren, how can I help you? Oh, when you there? Okay, so let me see.
Sorry, the audio was off.
Okay, so it's all right. Ren, are you there?
Okay, for your resume, when you write your CPA eligibility date, do you write the day that you finish the 150 units or when you finish the 24 semester in accounting and 24 business ones?
Right now I would do the 150. That's what I would show. And you want to make sure that it's absolutely achievable, right? Because I've had some students where, and this actually I think happened recently, they basically contacted me in a panic because one of the accounting firms said, do you have your 150? And so they were emailing me saying, oh my God, what's going on? And I think what was going on is they probably had over acceptance, or they were kind of like, they were maybe trying to delay people. So I would right now, and this is what I've heard from recruiters, you want to show basically what the 150 is, because that's currently what the standard is. And I would say the 150 semester units requirement will be met by whatever that date is. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then for the Google Sheets, I see some negative signs. So I was wondering.
Yeah, no, let me kind of show you what I do here. Okay, so Ren, do you mind if I share your Google Sheet?
Yeah.
You can I show it to everybody? Are you good with that?
Yeah.
Are you okay with me showing it?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay. So when I go through and do this, right? So right here, you've got 24 semester units of accounting, 24 semester units of business. And then over here, I call this group A for accounting, group B for business. And then you look here at 20 semester units of accounting study, right? And what is accounting study? It's a minimum of 6 semester units of accounting, maximum of 14 semester units in business related subjects, right? That's how you can get to your 20. Then over here, you've got ethics studies, right? Minimum of 3 or 4 quarter units in accounting ethics, auditing or fraud, and then these other classes. So when I went through and did your group, right? So right over here, you've taken 6 semester units of accounting, right? So for you to sit for the exam, and you also have 33 semester units of business, right? So for you to go through and to sit for the exam, you're going to need a bachelor's degree and another 18 semester units of accounting. Now, one of the things I can tell you is, well, you've taken accounting 201A and accounting 201B, right? What else are you going to have to take? 301A, which is intermediate 1, 301B, which is intermediate 2, 302, which is cost accounting, 307, which I think is accounting information systems, 308, which is taxation, and then you get to choose 2 of the 400 series classes. Usually I would probably do auditing, which is going to be 402, and then maybe you take Professor Morris's crazy data analytics course. I think that's accounting 404. The more you get to that. So by you going through and taking those additional 7 classes, you're going to have the 21 units right here that you need to kind of go through and to sit, right? Now, the negative units here is like, well, you've got 33 units of business so far, right? However, you only need 24. So 9 of these units can magically travel down over here into group C, which is accounting study. So as you can kind of see, this is going down here. You still need the accounting subjects. And then you can also over here, if you kind of go through and look at this in terms of the California Board of Accountancy, within accounting study, if I've taken things like English, communications, that can count up to 3 units in this one particular area. If I've taken a culture course like, American culture or something like that, or a language, right, that can count over here. If I've taken an engineering class or in real estate, that can count down over here, right? So when you're going through and doing this, right, so that's how I'm getting over here to your 20. Then lastly, you're going to need another, class of you need to take accounting ethics or audit because you have taken American government, you've taken managing operations, and you've taken organizational behavior, right? So you've gotten those things done, which is great. So you're basically, for you to sit for the exam, you're going to need basically another 18 semester units of accounting and a bachelor's degree. So if you're going to have those 18 semester units, say by, probably would be difficult to get those by May of 2026. But if that was the case, you could basically apply to sit because you have your business units done. So when you see the negative numbers, it's just because I'm taking it out of group B because you have an excess of the 24 units you need and putting it into different areas. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then what does the category G mean?
G, I don't want to say it means gangster. I'm just kidding. It basically means general, right? So when you look at this, you need 150 semester units, right? Of the 150, you need 78 that are within accounting subjects, business subjects, accounting study, and then ethics studies, right? So right over here, you've got a total of, 78 semester units. If you want to go through and take things like, well, I want to take a bunch of classes, I don't know, like in sports math, or I want to take something like in kinesiology, I want to take something in anthropology, all those units will count towards meeting the 150, right? So G basically means any general category. Now, what's interesting here is that your ethnic studies, this can also go through and count as part of basically the accounting subject, or accounting study, but you already have enough of the units through these other ones because there's a max that you can actually go through and do. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So going back over here, great questions, by the way. So Lucas, you had a question?
Yes, I did. So as a community college student at IVC, a sophomore, I've been
Mhm.
applying to a lot of firms, and I want to know how can I best position myself or promote myself as a college student, as most of the applications are geared towards four-year students.
Right. So one of the challenges you have, and this is probably the most important thing for those of you, and I applaud those of you who are entering Cal State Fullerton and just finished up your community college work. You know, obviously putting yourself in that position. Now, what I would probably do, are you part of GAP4 Plus One?
Yeah, GAP4 Plus One and the Accounting Society.
Right. So basically what you want to be doing is really highlighting GAP4 Plus One because that has a brand name recognition by recruiters. What I would say is that, you know, your plan, you maybe say in your education is that I'm at IVC GAP4 Plus One, and maybe say like plan transfer to Cal State Fullerton when you'd be going through and graduating. And I would say in your objective or your summary, I would say I'm currently part of Irvine Valley College's GAP4 Plus One program, and I am planning on transferring to Cal State Fullerton in the fall of 2026, for example. And I will be graduating from Cal State Fullerton, and I will have my 150 semester units done by that time. It's a great question because a lot of times if you're at the community college, it can be really difficult because sometimes recruiters don't know what to do with you because you're not at a four-year school yet. But if you're in a program like or if you're in a program like GAP4 Plus One, then you're kind of able to sit there and kind of go through and kind of say, okay, you know, here you go. I'm basically as a GAP4 One student, as long as I'm meeting the minimal requirements for the education or for the grades, you'll be able to automatically transfer to Cal State Fullerton. So that's probably how I would go through and do it. The other thing I would also say too, those Friday meetings that you've been attending, those are going to be the best places to go through in terms of going through and doing networking, right? I would also spend the time, you know, on LinkedIn. I would try to find former GAP4 One members. There are a lot of them that are out there. A lot of them will be at Meet the Firms. So I would be doing, those would be some of the things I would also be doing as well. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, that was perfect. Thank you so much.
Sure. Kiet, you had a question? Am I pronouncing your first name correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I have a question regarding my plan and like, cause I'm graduating next semester in spring,
Okay.
but after doing like the units, counting the units, I still need like 7 more units, so I would be like 150 eligible like after summer, taking like 7 units in the summer.
Okay. So as I look at this, so you haven't done this. So you just did this recently, or when did you do this? Just now?
This morning. I finished this morning.
So I'm going to show you guys. This is going to be exciting. Someone put me on a timer. Someone set up the timer right now. We're going to see how quickly I can do this one. Let's have some fun. Okay, so is your FIN 340, is this auditing financial statements? Should be accounting 402. Did these get switched? Kent, you're there? I think you probably want to switch these.
Okay, yeah, they're switch.
Yeah, no problem.
And I mean like
As you guys can tell, I've never done this before. This is my first time, so bear with me. Like there's a first time for everything. Okay. Okay. So when I look at this over here, in terms of the accounting courses taken, you're basically at 31. So you need 7 more semester units, right? Now, the one thing about this, when I see accounting 499, when it says independent study, what I want to kind of show you is this, right? So it says over here, maximum of 4 semester units in internship, independent studies in accounting and or other business related subjects. So I don't count independent study as an accounting class. This might be the Board of Accountancy may go through and accept it like that, but it's not something I do because I tend to take a little bit more conservative approach. So what you need as far as the extra 7 units, 2 of these would need to be accounting. Why is that? Because right now, in order for your audit or your ethics course to drop, you would need something to replace it up here, right? So what I would do is I would take 2 more semester units of accounting. You could do this at a community college. The other 5 units could be anything, right? So again, you need 7 more units. 2 of them need to be accounting. Anything else, you can basically do whatever you want to do. Does that
Okay,
make sense?
yeah. Just to clarify, so the 2 units accounting and the other 5, it could be like any subject. It doesn't have to be business, right?
No, it could be anything. You do like
Okay.
art history, like film studies, something more fun than accounting.
Okay,
Yeah,
got it. Thank you.
cool. All right. So let's go. Fernando, you had a question?
Yes, hi.
How you doing?
Good, how about you?
Good.
In terms of career path, I had a question about how, let's say, getting accepted to the Big Four is kind of like hard. So I was just wondering what would be, and I've heard a lot that once you get accepted to the Big Four, then you're set up for life wherever you want to go. So
I don't necessarily agree with that, but go ahead. Yeah,
I'm glad to hear that too.
here's what I would say. Once you're a CPA, you're generally going to be, I don't want to say you're going to be set up for life, right? Because every like crazy stuff can always happen, right? But becoming a CPA, that's going to really help with your job mobility, right? Why is getting a CPA so important? And I probably mentioned this earlier. When you hire a CPA, if the CPA does something evil, right? If they steal money, not only are they going to lose their job, they're also going to lose their CPA license. And once you take that test, you do not want to lose that license. So I think that from the perspective of, getting into Big Four, and Fernando, by the way, what year are you right now at Fullerton?
I just transferred from community college, so
Okay, yeah, so I'm not going to tell you not to do it. I mean, what I might consider doing. Do you mind if I pull up your mapping?
Yeah.
So yeah, so you may want to kind of go through and consider, right? So what I would consider doing, and again, this is like you're gonna essentially, by taking the accounting classes you need to take, you're gonna fulfill most of the requirements by going through and taking 301A, 301B, 302. I might say that I'm going to be graduating in, instead of saying I'm graduating, you know, for right now, maybe say you're graduating in December 27. And then what I would do is I would try applying for internships right now at EY and PwC. Look at their different programs. They have a lot of different types of internship programs that you may be eligible for. But I would definitely try to kind of go through, and you definitely want to apply right now for the Big Four. But I would also tell you though too, and this is really where the pre-meet the firms events that I've done with RSM, BDO, when you go to meet the firms on September 11th, really try to also stop by the booths of some of those other firms to really kind of see where you have a good vibe with. Right? That's what I would really be trying to kind of go through and do is, see where you like the people. That's really the most important thing you can do. It's not necessarily going to be Big Four or bust. But obviously, getting into a Big Four is great, but it's not, if you can't get in, it's not the end of the world.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's why I wanted to ask, like, if you don't get into the Big Four, what would be the best like plan B?
So
like
as far as like looking at firms, right? This is, again, it's really going to be where you fit in.
Okay.
RSM, great firm. BDO, great firm. Baker Tilly or / Moss Adams, also great firm. Who else? CBiz, Frazier. I mean, it all kind of comes down to like where you are going to be fitting in, right? You want to find a place where you enjoy working there, that you're going to be working hard. And again, that's what I would be trying to kind of go through and do. There's really no right answer. It's just what's like the best answer for you. Now, if I was choosing a no-name CPA firm, do I want to go on Glassdoor and look them up? Yes. Do we all know what Glassdoor is? We all heard of Glassdoor? Yes, no.
I have not.
Okay. Glassdoor is a place you can basically go and look up reviews of employers, right? When I come over here to Glassdoor, and I go through and search on jobs, and I look over here, I want to look at companies. Okay. Anton and Chia is a firm that is no longer around, but let's see if I can't. I was wondering why it's not letting me do this search. Hold on. Oh, here we go. Okay, so this is an example of, okay, so if we kind of look at this, like stress builds pros, stress helps build character. just kidding. Such little sleep can be good for you, and the headaches probably aren't either. Cons, overburden at all levels, resulting in a lack of mentorship. Former and new hires complain about a lack of training. Management's response, management stands by their systems of having a senior download random pages from Google to give a presentation for an hour or so, and they'll continue to challenge you, right? We don't know if these are true or not, but these are actually kind of crazy. So if you look at this over here, long hours, you need to work for 90 hours a week consistently, right? This is a firm that's no longer around, right? But what I would tell you is when you go, you need to be doing your research on these firms. And that's why I have those recordings of the accounting firms. You need to research those firms just as much as they're researching you, right? If I went through and like, let's look up another firm. What company you got? What do you guys want me to look up?
RSM.
Okay, so let's see what happens. Okay, so I've got 8,500 reviews. Okay, and they're going to probably have different reviews out of different offices, right? So this would be something you could go through and check out, right? And again, when you're working in public accounting, it's all going to be like longer hours, right? That's kind of what happens. So again, if it were me, I would be spending the time of going through this. You can also spot out pretty good fake reviews as well, right? And here you go. This might be something over here. Great people, solid pay, good office space. Cons. Actual work papers can get confusing as there's no work paper references within the primary Excel, so you don't know where numbers are coming from 25% of the time. Organization of clients' documents is all over the place, you know, and basically, you know, this is something, again, this is something just to kind of go through and consider, like, you know, as you're going through and reading the reviews, right? Like one of the things that always astounded me was when I started working as a professor, the first question I got asked when I was teaching up at Pasadena City College was, Tchaikovsky, do you suck as a professor? I seriously got asked that by a student. Never come up with good comebacks, but I got a good one. I said, well, have you seen the movie Gladiator? And which was shocking. And they said, yeah, I've seen it. I go, if I suck, go like this to me in class. Give me a big thumbs down, right? And I asked, why are you asking me this question? And they said, well, you're not on Rate My Professors, right? So what did I do? I told students to leave me feedback, whether or not they like me or dislike me or whatever. And that's helped me get really good students over the past whatever number of years, right? So when you're reading those kind of reviews on firms, always keep that in mind, because usually on Rate My Professors, you're going to see professors that if they give a student a bad grade or if something's bad, they're going to go through and normalize it. That's usually what's going to happen. So I would just kind of keep that in mind as you're looking at different companies. But again, you know, you'll probably, it's really, you know, it's kind of how you are in terms of being a judge of character. If you're going to these meet the firms and you're discovering that the people aren't really being genuine, then you probably know something's going on. So that's what I would tell you. Does that help?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. So the other question I had was when meeting the firms, I know you said work experience is one, like working in retail or a restaurant.
Yep. Those are great experiences to have.
Yeah, for sure. I was just wondering what else do these firms look for?
They're really trying to, so if you think about it, right? So you're going to be interacting with clients, right? What do they want to make sure that you can do? You want to make sure that you can basically service the clients effectively, right? That if the client prepares work papers incorrectly, that you're not saying, Nathan, what's this crap you gave me today? I'm looking at this work paper and it's in a shoebox. Like, what are you thinking? Right? I don't want to yell at my client, right? Nathan, we're just having fun, right? But I don't want to be yelling at my clients, right? That's the worst thing you can do. Oh, by the way, also, and you can get this from watching the videos. Do I want to be watching Mr. Beast videos at the client site? Well, unless I'm working for Mr. Beast, it's probably not a good idea, right? Do I want to be having headphones in while I'm on an engagement? No. When I'm meeting with a partner, do I want to be on my cell phone saying, oh, dude, I gotta make this quick post on X or LinkedIn real quick. Let me get right back to you. Got to finish this sweet tweet, right? You don't want to be going through and, you want to be like when you're at Meet the Firms, like put your phone away, right? And also too, if you're 5 minutes early or late, one of the things I've done after talking to recruiters about some of the things that have been going on in my classes this semester, I teach 2 in-person honors courses. And I'm making the students, if they're not on time, like if you're not there at 10 a.m. for my accounting 1A class, the door's locked. You're absent for the day. And the other thing I make them do is your electronics have to be put in at the very front of the classroom. Right now, those are my honors in-person courses, right? That's how I teach those classes. But why am I doing that? It's because of what I've been hearing from employers. When you're at the employer, you need to be focused on your work. If you need to go take a phone call or something else like that, you absolutely can do it. But you need to be very conscious of the fact of, all right, can you be social? If a partner asks you out to coffee, you go. Right? Because there's some people that, oh, I don't want to hang out with the partner. I don't want to do that. You have to be social, right? Because you're going to have to be out there like interacting with clients. It's absolutely critical for you that, and that's why, like, why is a restaurant job great? Why is a retail job great? Because you're interacting with people all the time. I was helping a student with a resume, and I found out that he was working at a very high-end restaurant. And I go, why is that on the resume? He's all, well, I didn't think it was relevant. I said, it's absolutely relevant. Because if someone sends back food, you got to watch that movie Waiting and give them something special back to them, right? That's, again, those are kind of things that you want to make sure that you have on your resume. Does that make sense, Fernando?
Yeah, thank you so much.
Sure. Okay, Peter, how are you?
I'm well. How are you today?
Good, man.
Good, good. So I do have a question about the worksheet you provided, and you said
Sure.
about I have 10 more units left. Can you give me a guidance a little bit with that?
Absolutely.
There's some critical errors I do want to mention. From Will Hondo, there is a critical contention I want to point out.
Hold on, just give me 2 seconds. Let me just pull this up.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, so you do. Wait, so if I did map it all.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's do this here. Okay. So based on what you have here, I think you've met everything. The only
Yeah, pretty much everything.
Right. The only thing, you're right. So yeah, man. I mean, you just need 10 more units to reach the 150.
That's it. Wow. I can't believe it.
And a bachelor's degree. I mean, like, yeah, you've done it. So great work.
Oh, thank you so much. It's just now I just need to find internship and find a job. That's the next step I need to do.
That's really, like, honestly, Peter, like the thing, and again, why I started with this, right? The first thing I basically said to all of you was the most important thing you can do is to be looking for a job right now, right? Obviously, your accounting education is important, and that's really going to be tested on the CPA exam. But obviously, when you're taking when you're taking accounting classes at Cal State Fullerton, because of those curves that are mandated by the instructors, some of those grades are kind of out of your control. But the CPA exam is within your control, but you absolutely need to be looking for work now.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. Especially I put spring 2026 CPA eligibility. So I'm glad I attend this workshop now. At least I need to have a better idea, like, okay, what do I need to look for now? Okay.
Honestly, if it were me, and I would almost tell you, it's like, hey, just, and again, like, because of where you are, and by the way, the one other thing I want to share with all of you is that if you have family members that are in public accounting, if you have family members that are in business, well, or friends, more than likely businesses have had to go through and hire accounting firms. You need to be having, if you don't have a job right now, you need to be, or even if you're far out, you need to be talking to those people. One of my neighbors, and she's at Cal Poly Slow, and she's kind of a little bit late to the recruiting game. Both of her parents worked Big Four. And I told her, I said, hey, the first thing you need to do is to tell your parents to start making calls. Because if someone came up to me and said, hey, Bennett, I need a job today. I don't know how to help you, right? But however, if you say I need a job a year from now, then I'm going to hopefully have my ears out and trying to help you find something, right? It's the job search process takes a long time. It doesn't happen overnight. And by the way, when you go to meet the firms, you're not going to get an offer on site. It's a process. You're getting all these different contacts. When you go to an interview at an accounting firm, basically you're going to probably go out to lunch with staff. In the office, you'll meet like a senior or a manager. You'll meet with a recruiter. But if you walk in there and you're really rude to the executive assistant or to the person who's at the door, and you're rude to that person, you're probably not going to get a job. Because if that's really kind of showing more of like who you are, right? When you're interviewing, you're always interviewing, right? So example, if I get an internship at Deloitte University, or excuse me, if I get an internship at Deloitte, and then they invite me to Deloitte University, and I decide to drink a fifth of vodka and take the golf cart and drive it into the lake, more than likely, I'll probably get arrested and get on one of those police videos, but I'm also not going to get a return offer to come back for full time. So you want to be like, I'm not saying it's who you are, right? It's like
Right.
I try to treat everybody the same. I don't really,
It's like respectfully comes a long way.
It's like you want to be treated as how you treat people the way you want to be treated, right? So
yes, absolutely.
It's really a matter of, that's what I would really kind of keep in the back of your mind as you're going through and doing this. And by the way, becoming socially engaged and getting off your phone is really important to do, because I'm 56. Most of the partners, because they're going to be termed out at around 60, most of the people that are doing a lot of the hiring are of like my generation. And when they see the younger generation kids on their phones, they always freak out. Why are you on your phone? Like, why are you on your device? Be really careful about being on electronic devices. Have your devices, mute them, but try to really engage socially with people. That's absolutely critical and important to do, right? And the more chances you have public speaking, absolutely take those chances.
Absolutely. And I do find that like not just accounting, not just taking classes, especially I'm part of the board right now, and I was part of the board last year, and I honestly think that having those credential D skills is going to be so important. So I'm not just like talking, you give us advice. Definitely, I'm also speaking to front of the people that this is something incredibly important, that when you get out of the school, then these skills are going to help you for the rest of your life.
No, and it's like, because eventually, like, you're working in an accounting firm, and if you're working at the accounting firm, ultimately to be a partner, you're going to have to get clients.
Absolutely.
You're not going to get clients by just sitting behind like a desk. My cat is meowing, so I don't know what's going on there, but maybe my cat doesn't like the Google sheet I prepared for him, so he's got to wait to become a CPA. But yeah, it's
got
again,
you.
put yourself in social situations.
Absolutely.
So, good deal. So Tree, do you had a question?
Yeah, I was a little confused about the requirements for the CPA, because it states how we need 150 units.
Correct.
And I think we would graduate with 120 units. So I'm wondering where the extra 30 units would mean.
California community colleges, right?
Oh,
So
okay.
Right now, you're basically, when I look at what you've been going through and taking, you're missing the 2 400 series courses, correct? Because you have to take 2 400 series courses to graduate.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm taking them this semester,
So
like
you-
right now.
Right, so you basically have to take, if you want to add those in, right? So essentially, when it comes to getting the other units done, most of the students will basically go through and take them at California community colleges because we charge 46 bucks a unit, right? And again, can you take them at Fullerton? Sure, but Fullerton, I can promise you, will be more expensive, right? Is Cal State Fullerton more than $46 a unit? What do you think?
Probably.
It is, okay? Right, so just, and as far as getting those other units, I would just do them at California community colleges. If you're a California resident, it's 46 bucks a unit. If you're out of state or an international student, it's going to be more. But if you're an international student at Fullerton, I think you're paying tuition of about 40 grand a year. So I know that IVC would be less. So I would just take your extra classes at a California community college. Now, with that being said, if you're getting close to graduation, and do you have a job lined up?
Not really. I'm still trying to like attend the events, but I'm not really sure if they're all
The
that
most-
successful.
Right, so the thing I would tell you is that if you have to re-recruit, meaning that you don't get a job, right? What I would be doing is I would be looking into getting scholarships at UCI for their Masters of Accounting. The reason is that if you go through and do that, then you can effectively re-recruit. Now, the only way I would do that is that if it was free, I would not pay for that. And given the fact that you've taken all of these classes at Fullerton, you would be a shoe-in, or like to apply at UCI, you need to have taken, I think it's like intermediate 1 and 2, some tax. So if you're unable to land something right now, I would absolutely be going to UCI and looking at their master's degree. So that would be my suggestion. But the most important thing you can be doing right now, like, look, the educational requirements, you can always go back and take these classes at California community colleges. Again, am I biased in saying this? Yes, but again, the reason is because we only charge 46 bucks a unit. It's way cheaper than anything else. It's one of the only benefits we have of living in the state, aside from the weather, right? So that's what I would share with you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So, Isaac, you had a question?
Yeah, so I just transferred to Cal State Fullerton and I was wondering like how would I indicate my CPA eligibility on my resume if I'm not even close to being CPA eligible?
So I'm assuming if you transferred, did you transfer after being in a community college for 2 years?
Yes. Yes.
So your eligibility for the 150 semester units would basically be in, so if you're looking at 3 years out, or if you're looking at, it might be like in May of 2028
Oh, okay.
for the one.
And then another question I had was on my thing or my
Mapping.
Yeah, mapping. What does the C-1 and C-2 mean?
So I'm just going to show you this really. That's basically when you look at, hold on. Okay, so when you look at the different like groups, right? So in this mapping sheet over here, when I'm referring to C1, it's referring to like English communications journalism. The C2 is referring to course titles with the word culture in it if it's a foreign language. C3 are industry-based courses. So when I was going through and looking at where you have as of right now, by the way, you're very early on in the game. You still have to take intermediate accounting 1, intermediate accounting 2, cost accounting, accounting information systems, and everything else. So given that, right, you're pretty early on in the game, and you're also going to have to take like organizational behavior. You're going to have to take management of organizations, all that kind of stuff. So like on a natural flow, you'll eventually be getting all those things done. Right. But I do the C1 and C2 because, I mean, like you basically, these classes you took in, biological anthropology, and then the ethnic studies 85 or the Chicano and Mexican literature, those can count towards towards the accounting subjects, or excuse me, accounting study. So
Mhm.
we put C1, C2, they can count in those areas.
Okay, yeah.
But just remember though, you're so early on, like as a Cal State Fullerton student, you have to go through and do these different classes here, right? I'm assuming that this is probably, I think this is still.
Yeah, I'm taking some of them right now.
Yeah. So again, as you go through and fulfill those, you'll generally fulfill most of the requirements for the 150.
And then you would recommend to take like the remaining at a California community college, I'm assuming.
It's like, look, if you want to go to like, if you want to go to USC, right? How much are they going to
Mhm.
charge you a unit? Well, they're going to charge me probably more than $2,000 a unit. Like, do I spend that amount of money? I don't know. Probably not. Right.
Mm-hmm.
You can give me 96, or actually I can't take any money from you because I would lose my job and I don't want to do that. But again, taking classes at California community colleges, it's going to save you a lot of money. And you can absolutely go through and take classes that most of my students in, like, Nathan, did you take accounting ethics with me?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, so Nathan took my class. Nathan, was it pleasant?
Yeah, it was pretty simple. Like the project, you learn a lot about like fraud, which
Yeah.
I think is pretty interesting.
Yeah. So again, you can go wherever you want to go through and take classes, that's, you'll get, if you wanted to take, I'm teaching financial statement analysis, which starts on, I think, September 8th. Teaching accounting ethics starts on September 8th. If you want to take those classes with me, even if they're full, you reach out to me, send me an email and say, hey, Bennett, can you get me into this class? And I will do my absolute best to help you get into those classes if they're full, right? So, but you don't have to take the classes at Irvine Valley. You can take them at Saddleback. You can take them at OCC. It's wherever you want to go through and take them. You don't have to take anything at IBC. It's just, again, it's really wherever you want to go. But I would not take units. I would not spend the money. But again, like, also the thing to keep in mind too, is that when it comes to the 150 where you are, once the Board of Accountancy does the finalization of the regulations, then you may only need 120. Right. But the challenge with that is if your graduation date is now being bumped up to May of 27, what I would worry about is then, well, you'd have to get an internship this summer. And that can be really challenging because most of the big four firms are already filled up. For some six. So again, like, just go on your path. And then what I would say is like, the most important thing you can be doing right now is looking for a job. That should be your number one priority. Right. The educational requirements as a Fullerton student will kind of go through and take care of themselves.
And because I actually do have retail experience, but it's not like my current job, would I still be fine indicating?
No, you want to list it on there. What retail job did you have? Where did you work?
I worked at Journeys, which is a shoe store.
Oh, I'm sure you got yelled at by people, right? Like, the shoe doesn't fit me. This thing smells, like whatever it might be, right? You had to deal with smelly feet. That's like an Al Bundy job. Not that you know what that reference is. It's from Married with Children. But absolutely, like, as a shoe salesman, that's going to be some great stories. And like, when you meet people at Meet the Firms, do not talk about accounting. Do not talk about benefits. Don't talk about those things. Talk about other things. I've had students who got jobs because they literally talked about basketball with a partner for 30 minutes and mentioned anything about accounting. What are your, like, what kind of things, how can you engage with people socially?
Yeah, because my current job is I work with kids. So
do you have to yell at those kids?
Yes.
Yell at you. That's good. Keep them in
line. A lot, yeah.
It's good stuff.
I also have to talk to their parents too. So
that's actually why I would never teach K through 12, because I'd have to deal with the parents. I don't like dealing with parents. There's no like community college. I say, oh, dude, it's HIPAA, or like FERPA, cannot talk to you. Goodbye. I'm out. Every time I've spoken with a parent, it's never ended up well. Try
I
to be
see.
helpful as a teacher. Oh no, it's terrible. Don't talk to the parents. It's
All right.
not like meet the parents, meet the Fockers, right? You know, nothing like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all the questions. Thank you.
Sure, no worries. Okay, Rin, I'm gonna actually, just because I've spoken with you previously, I'm gonna move over to Brigitte. Brigitte, you got a question?
Yeah. So I also had a similar question to Lucas, I think.
Yeah.
But if I already received a bachelor's degree a long time ago, but in an unrelated field,
Doesn't matter.
well, and I'm like currently fulfilling the like CPA unit requirements, how should I address that with like recruiters or like on my resume? Do I list like when those units will be completed?
The recruiters care about when are you going to have the 150 done.
Okay.
Right? So that's really what they go through and care about the most. So that's what I would be putting on your resume.
Okay. And then I was also wondering, do you still recommend taking like classes pass, no pass? Because I was wondering if in this case, like they might want to see my GPA in regards to like relevant courses, since none of my bachelors were geared towards accounting.
Right. So here's the thing. You can take classes, and are you taking the classes right now at IBC, or were you taking the classes at?
Yeah, at IBC right now.
Okay, so if you take the classes for a letter grade, right, and I think the more important thing for you to do to show your knowledge of accounting, and I would say this to anyone who's already graduated, is you want to start taking and passing parts of the CPA exam as quickly as possible, right? Because that's going to show that you've obtained the requisite knowledge.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, like, are you going to ask Bennett, like, you know, what was your grade in accounting 1A or in, you know, math or econ 3A back in whatever the year was that I took the class? No, they're going to say, oh, are you a CPA? Sure. Right. That's really what becomes like more relevant. Right. So if it were me, what I would be trying to kind of go through and do is, you know, you could take the classes for a letter grade, but at the end of the day, though, it's going to really be more, I think, you know, how you're kind of going through and basically positioning yourself. And remember that if you've had some more unique prior work experience, that can actually serve as a huge benefit.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. That's
Okay.
like really helpful. Thank you.
Cool. Awesome. Brianna, what can I help you with?
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
Yeah, that's good. My question is that I'm gonna be graduating and I'll be also CPA eligible by the end of like spring 2026. I'm pretty late in the recruiting game.
Okay.
So I was wondering, I know now like a few mid-tier firms have like some openings for summer 2026. Would you advise me to apply?
I would advise changing when you put your resume. I would say you're going to have the 150 done by December 2026. Not you're graduating in May. I would say it's by December of 2026 when you're going to have the 150 fulfilled. The reason is because if you're saying you're graduating in May and you're trying to get an internship, more than likely that's going to exclude you from that, because most of the firms want you to come back to school. So what I would say is, again, like, I'm not giving you legal advice here, right? But what I am trying to say is that I would probably shift the graduation date to probably be like December of 2026.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So graduating in like
December 2026.
Oh.
And you're looking for an internship basically this summer. And again, what I would do, now you could also be applying for full time, right? Because when are you going to have the 150 done?
I'll have them done by the end of spring 2026.
Okay, wow. Okay. So again, because and I would also really kind of make yourself open to, like, you know, like the firms like the Big Four, I would just cross those off the list.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the Accounting Society, Nathan, you guys publish a list of firms that are going to be at Meet the Firms, correct?
We don't have one for right now, but you can look at prior semesters on like our Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would just be preparing like to see like, hey, um, you know, what is it, what are the different firms? I would be using the resources I have, like watch those prior interviews, and really try to do your research and just show the genuine interest in that firm. That'll definitely help you in terms of finding something.
Okay.
Also I would also say as a reminder, there's also going to be government agencies. So there might be like the auditor of Orange County. There also may be like the Employment Development Department. They may not pay the best, but their benefits are usually going to be pretty good. And that also may give you an opportunity in terms of, like job openings. Just remember, it's going to be extremely competitive out there. But the fact that you're kind of acknowledging where you are right now is extremely important, and I applaud you for it. I would really try to be, just getting yourself out there as much as you possibly can.
Yeah, no, hustling. Yeah, I
Good
get it.
hustle. Good
Mhm.
hustle.
Yep. Okay, so can you remind me again? Because I want to have my resume completely done before Meet the Firms.
Yeah.
Graduation date, when did you say?
I would say, look, I'll have the 150 semester units done by the 150 done by December of 2026.
Okay.
That's how I would phrase it.
Okay, got it.
So that way you could still potentially apply for summer internships this year. Maybe what happens is you go in there and there's a winter 2026 internship available from January through April, which then I would consider taking, because then you might want to take your classes that you're planning on taking in spring, defer them and take them in December, but then you're at least getting some work experience in there that could lead to a job.
Okay. Got it.
So yesterday I met with Ninow Tierney. Ninow Tierney is a smaller accounting firm that's based in Tustin. They hire their interns from January through April. They don't hire a lot of them, but that's when they hire them. Based on that internship, if you do well, they're going to give you a full-time job offer.
Okay.
They're only tax, right? So again, and by the way, when you go and do tax or audit, these firms are going to train you how to go through and do the work.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Thank you so much.
No worries. Okay, Rin, I promise to call on you. I just want to get some other people that I haven't spoken with yet.
No, it's fine. I got my answer from earlier.
Perfect. Awesome. Okay, Tony, you had a question?
Yeah, I do. I think, well, first I want to say thank you for, giving up your time. It was really helpful.
No worries.
I haven't done my mapping, so I know you provided the information earlier. I was wondering if we can get that again, or if there's going to be like a link.
And just send me an email to ibc30@cpa@gmail.com, right? You've got that email address. So send me an email, and I'll reply back with a personalized Google Sheet for you.
Yeah.
And then you just list out all the classes, you reply back and say, oh, Tchaikovsky, I'm done. And as you kind of saw me doing this, I can do it pretty quickly. Once I go through and do your mapping, then you'll kind of know where you are with regards to the educational requirements.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I appreciate it.
No worries. Okay. Nyasha. Probably announcing that incorrectly, but I apologize. Nyasha, how are you? And how do I pronounce your first name?
Nyasha.
Nyasha.
Yeah.
Great to see you. So you also, I think, suffered through my accounting ethics class, right?
Yes, I did.
So stressful.
Yeah. I just wanted to clarify something on my worksheet because I know you said I needed 5 more accounting units.
Yes.
Because I'm taking accounting 302 and 307 right now. Would those get moved up to group A, I'm thinking?
Yeah, just give me 2 seconds.
Okay.
Yeah, so if we went through, and so you're taking right now, okay, so what are the classes you're taking right now? Accounting 302?
Yes, and 307.
Okay, and then you also have to take those 2 400s. Are you graduating with a concentration in accounting from Fullerton?
I'm doing a joint emphasis, so it's accounting and business analytics.
Okay, so you only have to take the 5?
Yes.
Okay. So, and this is. So guys, am I ready to become a Cal State Fullerton academic counselor? I think I am. I think I've like literally looked at enough. I know pretty much most all of your classes. It's crazy. Okay, let's put these in. Okay, so right over here. Okay, now, so what I would say is this. You would just need, because what happens is, in order for accounting ethics or for audit to drop down to group D, right? So basically, you would just need to take 2 more units of accounting. So basically, you would just basically need 2 more accounting units. So if you take either a 3-unit accounting class, you know, or just you need 2 more units. So I would just take a 3-unit accounting course. That would probably be the best advice I could go through and give you. And you're also going to need to take, in addition to that, to reach the 150, you'll need to basically go through and take you'll have to go through and take more units to get to the 150.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So yeah, that's all you need. Okay. Luis.
Hello once again. I did
Good.
have a question about the objective on a resume. I
Sure.
recently got my resume reviewed by the Business Career Services at CSUF, and they
Okay.
told me to remove my professional summary or my objective. They told me that recruiters just want to know more so your education. What's your opinion on that?
Let's ask the AI app. Let's do that right now. I mean, my only issue with that is that, you know, again, and I'm not telling you to not trust Elmo, right? That's not what we're trying to do here. What we're really trying to go through and do is to kind of say over here, and let's go ahead and start this. So including it basically is not mandatory and depends on your unique situation. It can be helpful if it highlights your goals, ambitions, and what you're seeking. You know, basically, again, and if I say yes. So again, if you're like looking at this, and this is really where you can go through and use the AI app, and I'll include a link to this, to all the apps I have, so you can do it. I've heard it also works really well I know it works well for McGraw-Hill Connect. If you throw in the questions, it might also work for Wiley Plus in terms of getting some of those answers. If you put it in the intermediate accounting app. But again, that's really where I would kind of say like that. And let's kind of look at let me look at where you are right now. Okay. Okay, so Luis, because you just started at Fullerton, right? I would probably include something like basically what you're looking for and what period of time. It's like, you know, I'm looking for an internship for the summer of 2027. You know, but I would include that or I'm looking to become, like, if you're going to do Big Four, it's like, I want to do a summer leadership program or, you know, whatever it might be. But I think I would probably include some sort, it's really up to you, but I would probably include some sort of because again, the recruiters really want to know, when are you going to reach the 150, right? Because that tells them when they could basically slot you in for an internship or something like that. And including an objective, you know, that's again, it's up to you in terms of what you want to do or not. That's what I would kind of say.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that.
Sure. All right. So Gianni, what can I answer for you?
This is just a quick question. So I haven't done like the CPA mapping yet, so I was just gonna ask again, what's the email I can reach out to you?
Just send it to ibc30 to cpa@gmail.com. And if you send, or you can send it to my btchaikovsky@ibc.edu. I'll reply back basically with a personalized Google Sheet. You'll then go through and list out all the classes you've ever taken on that Google Sheet. And then I can basically go through and finish the mapping for you pretty quickly.
Okay. Sorry, do you mind repeating the email again, please?
Sure, I can show it to you right now. So
okay, perfect.
So let me put this up here. Right, if I also do this, right, if I say like Bennett, Tchaikovsky, Irvine, Valley College, and coming over here, right, so right over here, you can basically see like my contact information. You can send an email to me from here. And also I think I have like, if you have more questions, I do have office hours on Tuesday via Zoom. If you're not a student of mine, I would not come to my Monday or Wednesday because they're extremely limited. I'm using those hours to review tests. But if you come and see me on Tuesday, you know, you join the Zoom meeting, I can, if you want to follow up with any kind of questions you have from this, more than happy to help you. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. What other questions? We all nervous for Meet the Firms? We feeling a little bit better? How do we feel about going into 9/11?
It's like 9/11, 24 years later.
It is. It's crazy. I mean, it's like, I know, but it's like, I like finding dates is so difficult to do for accounting societies and BAP at these venues. It's so challenging to schedule this stuff. Because Nathan, I'm assuming that this is the amount of support that the Fullerton administration gives you.
Yeah.
Is that about right?
Yeah.
At least they're not giving you the, they're not telling you to read between the lines. It's
Yeah.
this. There you go. Yeah. All right, but it's teaching you good character, so it's good. You know, it's good stuff. All right, Chris, how can I help you?
Hello. I have actually kind of goes with what everyone has asked already regarding the resume. I have a little bit of an issue. I used to go to Cal State Fullerton, but I dropped, so I'm going back. I just transferred over, so my GPA isn't exactly where I wanted it to be, but I have a lot of work experience.
Right. So
from
that's a great question. So one of the things I met a partner at an accounting firm, and he said that, you know, Bennett, if I see a low accounting grade GPA, I want to know why. If you are working 40 hours a week and going to school, if you are working a lot of hours and going to school, that is very difficult to juggle, right? If you're also going through and doing, like, say, for example, if you were doing, let's see, if you were like a D1 athlete or like a Division I athlete, right? So say if you were playing for Cal State Fullerton's water polo team, right? Or you're doing something like that, that really is almost like a full-time job. And that's why your grades are suffering. That's something I would go through and mention. If you don't put the GPA on there, then it's just going to kind of raise some questions. But remember, it's like, I wouldn't, you know, it's again, I would put it on there. I mean, it's if you leave it off, I mean, you could just say that I'm gonna, if you leave it off and you get asked the question, and again, it's probably going to depend on the firm that you're going to be going through and working for. But if they do, you could maybe just leave it off, and if they ask, you just be honest about it. That's what I would do.
Okay. All right, thank you. That was pretty much my question.
By the way, one of the things that I want to warn all of you about is that do not carpet bomb resumes. Don't, when you're going to meet the firms, don't drop them off everywhere. You want to basically either, because I think even Casey Tran told me, who's the recruiter at RSM, they're looking at all resumes now electronically. So, you know, if you're bringing a bunch of paper resumes, I just do not leave them on the recruiter's tables. If they do ask you for it, you know, you can give it to them. They might take notes on it, but probably the better way to deliver your resume is to wait until after Meet the Firms and to follow up with those professionals within 24 to 48 hours. But I would not like, and by the way, don't send your resume off at like 3 in the morning, right? I finished grading my 1A honors exams at, 1 in the morning the other night, and I sent out the announcement of when the grades were. That might be okay for me to do because I'm like the teacher. But when it comes though to when it comes though for you as students, just kind of be mindful of that. Like when you're, interacting with the firms, like I would not send messages at 3 in the morning. Like send it during normal business hours, but definitely after you go to meet the firms, make sure you're following up with people. And remember, if they don't reply back for a while, don't take offense to that, because like literally like Casey Tran, and I know that Reagan Hicks, who's a recruiter at BDO, they are absolutely going to be slammed because they've got so many different recruiting events they're going to. So don't ever take personal offense if they're not getting back to you immediately. But again, when you're there, you want to be spending as little time with the recruiters as possible and really try to talk to the professionals. Okay, what else can we talk about?
I got a quick question.
Okay, go for it.
Oh,
Go ahead.
if we were to update our Google Sheet sometime in the future, can we send you an email to review it again?
If you send me $5,000 cash, I'll do anything. I'm just kidding. No, send me like if you want me to go through and update it. Just the best thing you can do is never send me an Excel sheet. You always have to update the Google Sheet. Don't send me Excel. Just go to the bottom of where I've mapped it and just like list out the new classes and say, hey, Bennett, I've taken these classes. Can you remap it for me? And I will absolutely do that. So
Okay,
just be my, it's like I feel as though I've been doing this for like the last 24 hours straight. I think I got back to most of you who sent it over to me. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, I will try to get back to you as soon as I can. Okay. Tree, what can I answer for you?
I just want to know how soon we can access the recording to this meeting.
Oh, it's going to be public. It's going to be up on YouTube and it'll be public. So you're all going to be YouTube famous. It's going to be exciting. Right. Yeah, I'll be basically my YouTube channel is Accounting Professor. And let me just pull this up.
I'm also gonna send out an email with like the link to your like resources that you showed, like the slideshow and all that.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you look at this over here, so if I go to, so what you see right over here, so the meetings I do with Frazier, Nino and Tierney, RSM, and right over here with BDO, those are all going to be unlisted, right? I don't have those. I do not, basically have those items public just because of like the firms. What I do though is like after I'll do all these pre-meet the firms, I'm going to throw them into my AI app. So my AI app will be updated with some more like current information. But what I will do is that essentially if you subscribe, this is my YouTube channel. I have a lot of stuff on here. Like if you're taking intermediate accounting, I've got like a lot of problem walkthroughs are up here if you're using the KISA book. But yeah, I mean, I've got a lot of video content out there. So it'll basically be published on my YouTube channel.
Okay. And do you know what's like the earliest time it would be published onto the channel?
So after, it's probably gonna take about 30 minutes. Like once I end the Zoom call in a few minutes from now, it'll probably take about an hour or two to process. I have to go run some errands. I'll get home and then I'll download it and then I'll upload it. And then you guys can, watch it over and over again and make me millions of pennies from the advertising revenue, right? Which is what kills me is it's like I think my videos have been watched more than like 60,000 hours, but my advertising revenue is like under, I think it's like about $80 a month. So it barely covers my internet bill. But so it's still a little bit something. At least you don't have to pay for textbooks in my class. Actually ethics, you have to buy the book, but I don't think you really have to. But most of my classes, I try to go textbook free. Because I know you all love paying for accounting textbooks. Okay. What other questions can I answer for you? Is that it? Or are we actually done? Wow. Okay. Exciting stuff. So please feel free to come up and see me at when I sneak into the firms, or actually I'll be there legitimately at Cal State Fullerton meet the firms. Feel free to come up and talk to me if you have any questions. I'm kind of hard to miss. I'm like a big gorilla. So you can find me, or baby gorilla. Just come up and find me, introduce yourself, say hello, and be more than happy to, answer any more questions for you, or feel free to see me during office hours. And yeah. All right, we'll say goodbye.